Everybody, welcome back to Why Am I Yelling Live? The Black Lives Matter listening tour. I am so excited today. I mean, the universe works in mysterious ways. I'm going to say that, and I say it all the time. But several weeks ago, I took a challenge from my friends Chris and Jen, and they run a media company in New York City, and they were hosting a challenge, and I'm big fans of theirs, and I was like, I'm taking this challenge. They had a very dynamic and wonderful guest on for one of their challenge days, and she's sitting right next to me on the screen, but she's in Atlanta. And Tamisha was really generous in sharing her knowledge and experience as a journalist for us wanting to learn how to get in the media and all that stuff. That doesn't matter. I mean, it matters, but it doesn't matter. That's how I know her. After the George Floyd murder, I started reaching out to my Black friends, and I decided, you know what, I'm going to reach out to Tamisha. I don't know her. We've had a couple of exchanges on Instagram, but that's really it. And she has so graciously and generously agreed to be here. So Tamisha Harris, thank you so much for being here.
Of course.
I'm very excited to have you. You guys need to know that Tamisha is a national TV producer with over 15 years of experience in producing in networks like ABC, BET, CBS. She's currently at CNN. She also helps entrepreneurs, experts, and artists on how to gain more media exposure. So that is her side hustle, or what her second job, whatever she likes to do. But I think it's really lovely that you do that, because there are a lot of people out there who don't know how to find exposure.
How to pitch
Yes.
to produce. Yeah.
Yes. But we're not here to talk about that either. So that'll be for our next conversation. Because there's so much to talk about.
There's so much to talk about.
So here's the thing. You are a television producer. I know that area well because my husband is also a television producer, and I know that your job never ends. It is a 24/7 constant stream of information. So I thought it would be a good time for us to have a conversation about your experience with this topic, with this discussion, and how it has impacted your life as a journalist and as a civilian, if you will, as a regular, normal person.
Yeah. And thank you, Krista, for having me. And I think that what you're doing is incredible, and it needs to be done, especially on a local level. And when I say local, I mean just people who are not, you and I talked about this, people who are not necessarily academic or scholars when it comes to race relations. But if we think about it, all of us are experts on race relations because we are socialized in that way. So I love what you're doing, because what we can do is have a local conversation about it. We can just have a regular conversation about our experience. And I think that we can all speak to, our own experiences. Me as a television producer, and as a mother, and as a Black woman, and as a Black person. And then, my friends who are in the media, us now having these intimate conversations. And people come in, my boss, or just friends or coworkers will inbox me and say, hey, just checking on you to see how you're doing. It's like, this is different. This is just, it feels different. It feels genuine, and it feels like it's liberating for them. I know for sure. And for me, wow. Thank you for opening yourself up to see that I exist outside of myself as a producer, outside of myself as a worker bee, but as a human being. So I think it's therapeutic. I love the conversation. I love this conversation that we're having, because it needs to be had.
Yeah, I agree. And I just want to go back to what you just said, because I have been seeing conflicting ideas about, don't reach out to me just to see how I'm doing because you feel like you have to do it. Do it because you want to do it, right? Like there's a lot of that. There's a lot of people posting on social media, and there's a lot of people reaching out to their Black friends or the Black community or whatever, but they don't keep themselves involved. And so I think that there is a genuineness, like you're talking about now with your coworkers and people that you know. And I also think that there is like a facade in a sense from some people, right? So I appreciate that you said you appreciate people reaching out to you, because I think there are some people that are afraid to do the reaching out because of that.
Yeah. I think that for me, I surround myself with genuine people. I don't care,
Yep.
doesn't matter your race. So my friends who are white, my friends who are black, they are genuine people. So I
Yep.
don't, there's not a doubt in my mind that they really
Right.
want to know how, Tamisha, how are you
Yeah.
doing?
Yeah.
Because it's not the first time they've reached out. It's
Right.
about that particular subject, yes, but we
Right.
are actually friends.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
So it's not,
Yes.
so I know that it's genuine because it's an ongoing thing. And so that's what we have to have these. It can't be, oh, that's my black friend and that's my white friend. No,
Yes.
that's my friend
That's
who
my friend.
is white. Yeah, that's my friend. You know what I mean?
Right.
Who is white, who is like, whatever, if that comes up. So I do not doubt that the conversation, the reaching out is genuine. Yeah.
That's good to know, and that's good to hear. Um,
Hmm.
so let's talk about your experience. You said you were in New
Yeah.
York last week.
Yeah.
Um, how has your experience being a journalist
Hmm.
affected you during this moment?
Yeah, I can just kind of reach back to when the CNN building was vandalized.
Yes.
Um, and for me, I had to go into work that night. So, in fact, I had to go into work that moment. So for us as producers, whenever like there's a hurricane or whenever there's like
Go to work.
terrible weather, we still have to go to work because
Yep.
that information needs to be brought to the public. And so it's the same thing with the protests. Protesters were surrounding our building, um, and um, it was scary because
Yeah.
I don't, are they going to try to do something to me because I'm a producer, or am I safe because I'm, or, what I mean?
Yes. Yes.
Where do I fall in, where do I fall in this? And so I didn't I had to go to work anyway. Um, the company is so great about protecting us, and just I couldn't have been fine. I felt perfectly fine.
Oh,
There
good.
was constant communication. Yeah, there was constant communication from management about getting us there because only a few of us can go in now because of
Right.
COVID-19. And so that huge building, there may be about five people,
That's
10 at the
crazy.
most in the building.
It's
So
crazy.
they were in constant communication with us. But anyway, for me, I understood. I'm looking at the CNN logo, and I'm like, wow, they really they really
Yeah.
destroyed that.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, when you think about America and you think about our right, you think about the right to protest and the right to express yourself, it became it actually is a weird, beautiful thing. Like it's a it's vandalism, but it's just like this beautiful expression of we've had it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I was conflicted there, but I decided that I thought it was beautiful. It was decidedly beautiful to me. And you never want to be this as the media, we never want to be the story.
Right. Right.
But you can't avoid it a lot of times. When I got in, I just wanted to make sure that I told both perspectives, which we always have to. But but to you can't help but to, as a black woman, I can't help but to put myself into it.
Yep.
I have, you can't help but to add, your feelings
Yeah.
and that kind of thing, which I felt fine. I felt fine doing that. Um, but yeah, I mean, it takes you would think I was, you would think it would take a toll, but I was inspired. I was just inspired by what was happening. Um, and I was just proud to be able to bring it to the bigger
Yep.
screen. I was proud to be able to have, am I going to go out there and protest? Probably not, but my job is just as important,
Right. Right.
to be able to give a voice to the people who are, even the business owners who are losing their businesses, and
Yeah.
the just the whole, every part of it. I was just proud to be a part of being the person, being in the position to bring it to everybody else, to bring it to people globally. And I
Yep.
wanted to make sure I don't take that responsibility light. And so I wanted to make sure that that it was fair on all
Yes.
fronts, and that people understood how whatever your actions are, how it impacts everyone else. And that's what people need to get. How your actions, whatever it is, how it impacts others. And that's a part of storytelling if you want to, if you're going to um, be a gift to
Yep.
everyone.
I
And
think
so
that
I
is
was
amazing.
incredibly inspired. Yeah.
I love that you're saying that because you and I were talking about this just prior to hitting the live button, right?
Mhm.
I feel like, and I said this, I feel like there is a small piece of a blessing in this quarantine phase that we're in because it has
Yeah. Yeah.
allowed us to magnify an issue that has been around for centuries.
Yes.
And I really feel a shift. This is the first time
Yeah.
I can actually say that.
Yeah.
I'm 47 years old. I'm not young. I've been around for a while. Um, this is the first
Yeah.
time that I actually feel like, oh my God, something big is going to happen. Something major is
I think
going to
we all
change.
feel that way. I think we all feel that way, and it's funny because when just at work, when we are having these conversations and we get the memos from management, everybody
Yep.
says the same thing. And that I don't know what all the other companies are doing, but what Warner Media is doing inside,
Yep.
and their actionable goals, it's when I say it's revolutionary, they are not joking
Yeah.
with
Yep.
this situation. And it even it's for me, it's like, wow, I'm so proud to work for a company who really gets it, and is really making the making the moves, and putting forth the effort, real effort, to
Yep.
find out how we're doing and what we need, what needs to happen, and the role that they are going to play in our personal lives.
Yep.
And that, for me, that's just extraordinary. So I agree that it feels different because it is different.
Yeah.
um it just is different, and we'll see that. I strongly believe that we'll see that.
I think so too. I think that I watched the Dave Chappelle video last
Yeah.
night, and I
hmm
was like, oh, I mean, that
hmm
really spoke to me. Like, it really spoke to me. I was like,
yeah.
we were talking about it amongst some friends yesterday afternoon, and I got into bed last night, and I was like, I'm finding it. I'm going to find it.
Yeah.
And it really, like, his words and the way he spoke, it really just, I was like, that we are in the middle of changing the globe, and we're doing it
Yes.
environmentally with this disease, and we're doing it
hmm
socially with this the anti-racism movement. And I really, so here's what I want to ask you. Now we're
hmm
3 weeks in, right? It happened 3 weeks ago.
hmm
um
yeah.
has the momentum slowed, do you think, or do you think it is still there?
I think it's evolving. And here's the thing: isn't it exciting, though? I think you said,
Yeah.
it's just exciting because we can't fight every single
No.
day. You know
Right.
what I mean? And so I think that the momentum is evolving into things that are actionable.
Yep.
And so for me, that's having these conversations, and um giving, I think it was, I can't remember, the woman who the author of White Fragility,
Yep.
she actually she was on, I guess, I don't know if they, I don't know how it came to be, but she was on one of our memos. She delivered a video for us, and she came up with actionable items for the people who are in who work for us, who are white. And she mentioned, she said, here are some things that you can do when you think
Right.
about how can I be an ally, and how can I help?
Yep.
Here's some things you could do. She named Layla Saeed's workbook. It's a workbook and it's called Me and White Supremacy. Um, and then the other item that she named was Dr. Eddie Moore's 21-day challenge. And so whenever you're, for me, it's one thing for people to say, oh, well, we're doing, to have an umbrella conversation, but it's
Sure.
another thing to say, here's what you can do.
Yep.
Rather than just saying, asking your coworkers, how can I help? Da, da, da. Van Jones gave the best analogy of it. He says, if you found out on Monday that your child has cancer, an unknown cancer that you never heard of, by Friday, you'd be a world-class expert on that
Yep.
on that
You
cancer.
are. Yes.
You know what I mean? So it's like, do your homework, and yeah, I mean, reach out to your friends, but go ahead. This is something that has been going on. This is how we've been
Yes.
raised.
Yep. Yep.
So it's not like the information is hidden. The information
Right.
is there,
Right.
and it's a quick Google search, you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. And
Or
not hard.
talking to your other, it's just, so it's not it's not hidden. It's in plain sight. But I love that. I love that, it's evolving. No, I don't think that the momentum is dying down. I think that now we need to start, which is what we're doing,
Yeah.
putting things in place to make it better.
Yep. I think action is really important, right? I mean, like the statement has been
Yeah.
made and
Hmm.
now action has to be taken. Um,
Yeah,
and
definitely.
I'm wondering, we're going through the statements, we're still having these conversations. I don't want these conversations to
Yeah,
stop. I'm like, this isn't stopping. Like, I
me
want to talk to
either.
everybody I want to talk
Yeah,
to.
I know. I hear you.
Because it's important. It's important for me as a mother, and for me as a business owner, and for me as
Yeah,
an ally, I guess, for a lack of any other better word to call myself other than a
yeah.
friend,
It's a
because
great,
I'm a
great word.
friend.
Yeah. Yes.
Um, I've always believed in equality. I've always, like, I was talking to a good friend of mine who was on last week, is coming back on tomorrow because we have more to talk about. But
Hmm.
like I said to her, I was like, I've known you for 20 something years. Like, I've known you almost as long as I've known my husband. We've been friends for that long.
Hmm.
And
Mm.
when I got out of college and got my first apartment, I moved in with two girls. One of them was black and one of them was a Latina. And none of us stood on the sidewalk and said, well, I can't live with you because you are this. And I can't live with you because you're that. And
Yeah.
it never even, we were 19 years old or 20 years old, however old we were. Like, it didn't even occur to us to
Yeah.
think like that. Right. So it kind of hasn't been in my wheelhouse, but it never really occurred to me to choose my friends based on ethnicity or any of that stuff.
Yeah.
Um, Taking action, however, for people who are in very heavy learning mode, there's a lot of learning I'm seeing from people that I follow on Instagram, from even my own personal friends. It's like, I need to
Hmm.
know more. Thank you for having these conversations, that kind of stuff.
Right. Hmm.
What I love that you brought up, the Eddie Moore challenge. I love that you brought up,
Yeah.
the workbook. I think that's really
Yeah.
important. But what
Layla Saeed's
Layla
workbook, Me
Saeed's
and White
workbook?
Supremacy. Yeah. Hmm.
Um, what other things do you think the ally community can be
Hmm.
doing to help move this forward, like move the needle?
I think that we have to think about what our natural alliances are. You know what I mean? Who are natural alliances? Because when
Yep.
you think about your workplace or your home life,
Sure.
um, it's a matter of right there. Like, you don't have to go anywhere.
Right.
Racism is right there in front of you.
Yep.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
So, the systemic racism is right there. So I think we have to think about what is natural for us. Ask, how are Black people in your industry experiencing experiencing your industry, because
Yeah.
it's two completely different experiences. I don't care if you work in
Yeah.
a call center, I don't care if you work at the
Yes.
Pentagon. It's two completely different experiences. So it's finding out how you can, what is it that you can do to help their experiences, and that experience of the Black person next to you.
Yes. Yep.
Because if there are some microaggressions going on and you don't know that you are exerting that energy toward her or toward him, then you should just ask, how can I make your work life, what am I adding an energy that I'm not sure, that I don't know that I'm adding,
Right.
that's causing conflict or contention, here between us. What can I do to help
Yep.
the person right next to you? And that would make a world of difference, because then, for me, if and my coworkers, they really are great. It's like they were sent from heaven. If I'm asked that question, I've worked with coworkers who are not so great.
Right.
And if I'm asked that question, and just a small just a shift in the way things are done, maybe in meetings.
Right.
If I'm speaking, then don't interrupt me while I'm speaking.
Right.
Ask Tamisha, how is, what are your thoughts on this? Because we have thoughts on it, and be open to listening to it. Do be willing to develop empathy, and practice deep listening. Don't, and it sounds elementary, but it's like we all do it. We all listen to respond instead of listening to learn. And
Yep.
so, just treat the people you work with, the people that you live with, the people that you come in contact with, on a daily basis, with uh, full humanity.
Yes.
Full
Yep.
humanity.
I
You
mean,
know
it
what I
sounds
mean?
easy. It's like,
Don't come in with this conceptual thinking, this just full humanity. Nobody is ever asking for anything more than that.
right.
Yeah.
That every point you made is so on, like it sounds so simple.
It does.
And it's mind-boggling to me why it's so hard for so many people to understand. But I think, education, you said listening. I, in real life, am a relationship coach. So I talk about the foundations of relationships ad nauseum to my clients and my people.
Yeah.
Um,
Yes. Yeah.
but, communication is the number one thing in any relationship. And
Really
it
is.
doesn't matter if you are communicating with your barista at Starbucks
Yes.
or with yourself about your own health. Like,
Yes.
you have to be able to listen
Yes.
to other people, and you have to be able to understand. Like, it just, for me, it just seems so easy. And
And
for
then
you,
show
right?
compassion.
Yes.
Show compassion and show empathy. I'm reading, it's so funny you brought that up, because I'm reading the art, it's an old book, The Art of Communicating.
Yeah.
And it's just fun, it's a phenomenal book, and it's an audio book, but it teaches you about loving yourself. Because if you don't love your, and it sounds again so elementary, but if you don't love yourself, you can't love anyone else. And so, enough with white guilt. No, love yourself.
I like that. Yeah.
And then it's freeing, it's liberating to find out,
Yeah.
to open yourself up to say, how can I love you better? And what that means is, how can I show more compassion to you? How, and then you can actually answer those questions yourself. How would you
Right.
like to be shown compassion?
Right.
Do you, that kind of thing. And
Yes.
so the same thing that you would want for yourself, the person that's right in front of you, offer that same level
Right.
of compassion. The
Right.
same thing. It's very simple. It's already in us. You know what I mean?
Of course
We
it
already
is.
have it. We don't have to learn any of this.
No, it's like the golden rule: treat others the way you want
There.
to
It's
be
just a matter
treated.
of implementing. Mhm. Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, let's I love this. But so now let's shift gears a little bit because I want to talk
Hmm.
about your personal experience because we've already had this conversation a little bit beforehand. You
Hmm.
grew up in Indianapolis.
Yeah.
Um, were not really engaged in any kind of racism growing up.
Hmm.
And then
Hmm.
you moved to Atlanta. So I want to know, I mean, maybe not your personal or
Hmm.
friend or stories. Like, what is your perception as a Black woman
Hmm.
with racism for yourself, for your family, for your son? Like, how are
Yeah.
you talking to him about this stuff? And I know he's
Yeah. Yeah, my
older.
son, yeah,
So,
he's older. But we've had those, we constantly have those. It's funny because when we lived in New York, I would tell my son, um, well, yeah, first let me just kind of go back. I am from Indianapolis, and when I was growing up, I went to North Central High School, and it was predominantly white high school. Um, my middle school and elementary, all of that was predominantly white.
yeah,
So, but I, I did, and maybe it could be because I was socialized
yep,
through racism, and I wasn't able to identify it because it was the way. But I never felt um, different in any way. But also, I have a very strong family support system. I have
yep,
lots of brothers and sisters, have a very strong mother, a very strong father. So I just had a lot of love growing
yes,
up. I had and so that, whatever was going on out there, I maybe I didn't see it because I just
yes,
had so much love within my own family. But when I did move to Atlanta, my high school, I moved, I guess my junior year, my high school was all Black. And for me, I probably was, in fact, I can say that I had more reservations because it was just shocking for me. I'm like, wait a
yep,
minute, what does this mean? I just didn't,
yes,
for
yes,
some reason, I couldn't understand why everybody in this school was Black,
yeah,
and
yeah,
so um, now that I'm thinking about it, um, there was a socialized racism there but I didn't recognize it until I
yeah,
moved to a place that was all Black, and then I had my own reservations about that.
sure.
And so, I somehow, I got through that, and I had a great time in high school. Um, as moving on into adulthood, it was just full, the media, the
Yeah,
entertainment
yeah,
industry is full of it. I mean, it's just at every turn you're being questioned, your professionalism is being questioned, um and it's ran by, the media is run by white men.
yes,
And
it is.
I'm a woman, and I'm a woman. I'm a Black woman. And so there is, even today, there's constantly, having to fight for our stories.
Yeah,
Um, but I will say it's a lot easier where I am now. It's a
right,
lot easier
right,
where I am now. And
right,
and that just comes from being around people who are smart enough to understand that without the perspective of without the perspective, you are missing out on a critical part of the story.
right,
And you can't have a smart production without all people, without
right,
being able to see all people. And that means you can't have an all white production
right,
staff. You can't do it because when you hear from white people, a lot of white people that say, well, I just wasn't brought up around that, or I wasn't, and fine, but then you can't have
right.
that
An
mindset.
experience.
Yeah,
Sure.
it's like, so you need people. We don't have as a Black woman, I don't have the luxury not to understand
Right.
the white culture. I don't have, or any other
Right.
culture.
Right.
I need to understand all cultures, in order to live, in order to exist.
Sure.
So when you're not hiring Black women, when you're not hiring uh, Black people, you're missing out
Yeah.
on that that perspective. It's
Yeah.
valuable. And
So
you're and
valuable.
yeah, it's incredibly valuable, um and and you just have, you must have it. And like I said, the company that I work for, they are doing,
Yeah.
they're doing much better than the companies I've worked for in the past in the past.
Yeah. Yes.
So
Yeah.
yeah. Hmm.
So
But as
now
far
let's
as my
talk about the
son,
mother
you
piece.
did ask
Yes.
about my son. I will say this. So it's funny. Uh, just a quick example. My son, he loves to scare me. He loves to hide behind bushes and hide under stairwells. So when we lived in New York, he would, we would be walking
Yeah.
out and I'd lock the door and he'd hurry past me so that he can go find a place to hide.
Yeah.
Now, at this point, my son is 6'5" right now, but during
Oh
this
my
time,
God.
he was 14. So maybe he was like, maybe he was, 6'2", whatever. And he would hide under stairwells. He'd hide behind the bushes. And I had to explain to him, it was just me, and it was just the both of
Yes.
us, because he's an only child. So I was his source of entertainment, unfortunately for him. Unfortunately for, but but I had to explain to him. I said, Jen, his name is Genesis. I said, Jen, you cannot do that, son. You cannot hide under stairwells. You cannot hide under the bush, because what if you think it's me coming out and it's someone else coming out? They're going to be scared out of their mind. But the funny thing is, Krista, that was the highlight of my son's day, to scare the crap out of me.
Right. Right.
It was just the funniest thing to him. But I had
Yes,
to
as a
tell him, and I had
kid.
to remind him daily, and I would get so upset with him.
Yeah.
Genesis, you cannot do that. You cannot do that. And I had to go through the whole thing.
Yeah.
He always loved to run. He loves to run. He has so much energy. He was a basketball. He played basketball. So he would run down the street just as
Yeah.
fast. I'm like, Genesis, do not run down that street. What are you doing?
Right.
And it's like you're taking, you are, it's painful
Yeah.
as a mother, because you're taking, I want my son to be able to scare me. Do I
Of
like that he
course.
doesn't? No, but I
No.
know that he gets a kick
Right.
out of it. So I wanted him to be able to do it. I want him, run and
Yes.
whatever. And that, no, Genesis, son, you can't do it. And so it's always hard. Those are hard conversations to have. It's heartbreaking, because
Yes.
I ran down the street. I wouldn't scare my mother, but I'd scare my brother and sister. You know what I mean? My brothers and
Yeah.
sisters. So I get it. So yeah, those are hard conversations to have.
I think they are
It's
hard
not just their
conversations.
childhood away from them.
It
It's not
does.
just their
I was
childhood.
just
Yeah.
going to say that. And I also
Yeah.
think that they're hard conversations for you to have, definitely, because you're in it, right?
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
I'm having these conversations with my kids now. They're 8 and 14, and
Hmm.
they're two very different levels of conversation.
Right.
But it really is like, when you're talking to the little one, he's like, I don't understand, like, why? I don't know why people are mad at people
Right.
because of this.
Right.
It doesn't make
Right.
sense to me.
Yeah.
And I feel
Exactly.
like I'm robbing them of some of their childhood, because it's like,
That's what's
I
happening.
need you to be protective of your friends. And
Yes.
I need you to be an ally. I'm teaching you at the
Yeah.
age of from a tender, like, I need you to be an ally to your friends, all of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that, yes, it kind of robs them of their childhood,
It
and
does.
not, a piece.
Yeah.
Um, so how do you evolve? Because now he's a man, right?
Yeah.
He's a full-fledged
Yeah.
man.
Yes.
I'm sure you're having the dialogue, right? And what are you saying to him as a man? Like, I need
Yeah.
to, like, like, what do you say?
So, you know, it's weird because around that age, my son is 21, and so around that age, they are on their own. My son lives in Houston now,
Okay.
and he'll come back soon. But um, he's in a tough spot because
Yeah.
he's a musician,
Oh,
and
I love that.
he's a musician and he raps, and so there's this whole other world
Yep.
that he's a part of, that is that has an image that you have to be this certain, you have to have this kind of toughness about you. And so um my son doesn't have that. He doesn't have that. He just
Oh,
wasn't raised
I
like that.
love him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he wasn't raised like that. But so then he has to kind of come up with this image.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, and it, for me, it's exhausting. It is
Yeah. Yeah.
exhausting
Yeah.
because all of the work that I've put in, and and here he is.
No, mom, it's just an image. I'm really still
Right.
your baby.
No,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
So we're at a, my son and I, we're at a different, we are
Yeah.
at a different point right now, but um I still have the conversations with him, but I've done I put in a lot of work with my son when he was younger. So he
Yeah.
knows,
Yeah. Yeah.
he knows what to do. If he chooses not to do it, then that was his choice. But I can say that I try to just I try to fall back and allow him to make mistakes. Hopefully, those
Yeah.
mistakes are not deadly for him.
Mm.
But I have to pray at this
Yep.
point. It's
Yep.
for me, it's prayer that what I've taught him, what
Yeah.
he will recall it and put it into action when the situation calls for it.
It is, I gotta tell you, it's like the hardest job on the planet being a
Isn't
parent.
it?
I
It
mean,
really is.
it's so exhausting.
It is
It is
exhausting.
because it
Yeah.
doesn't, like, and my mom even says it now. She's like, you're 47 years old. You have two kids of your own. You've been gone since you were 18. Like I've been home in 30 years,
Yeah.
but I still worry about you. I still worry about you
Yeah.
living in New York and I'm down in Florida. And if you needed me, I would. And she is, in her 70s and
Yeah.
isn't as spry as she used to be to like jump up
Yeah.
and come help us or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, so it never goes away.
It never goes away. My mother lives with me now, and the other day, my brother and I were downstairs in my basement. I have a gym in my basement, and she came downstairs and she just looked at us. And I said, why are you looking? What are you looking at? But then when I looked at her, she's like, I'm just looking at you guys. And I realized, oh, that was a motherly look. It was,
Yeah.
we're always going to be her kids, and
Yeah,
she's
she's looking at her
always going to
babies.
look at us lovingly in that way. So, yeah,
Yeah.
we're always her baby. So I got it. I'm like, okay, that was just a motherly look.
Yeah.
And so it just it just never ends. It just doesn't. So I'm fully
No,
prepared to be worried about my
yep.
child forever.
Yes, me too. And mine aren't, like,
Yeah.
they're still babies. Um,
Yeah.
Sorry, I had a cough.
Yeah.
Okay. I know that you have a lot of stuff going on. So, we're
No,
going to
this
end
is
this
so much
soon.
fun. Yeah, I
Oh, good.
love
I'm
this.
glad.
Thank you so much. I loved it.
Um, so before we go, what do
Hmm.
you think? We talked about course of action. We talked about, I'm going
Yeah.
to use evolve. That's going to be my word for you
Yes.
because I think that
Love
is a
it.
beautiful, amazing word.
Yeah, I
Um,
agree.
what is your advice or not advice? How do you, I don't even know how I want to frame this question. Um,
Just say it and
I don't know.
I'll
Like, I'm thinking like, okay, let's look into the future a little bit.
Mhm.
What do you see for, you know, 5 years, 10 years? Like,
Mhm.
what do you want to see for the Black community going forward? And I know like the simple answer is
Yeah.
humanity, but I want the meat.
Here's what I would like to see for um sorry, let me just make sure. Here's what I would like to see for um us. Not just the Black community, but Black and white women. I think that there is a tension there
Yeah.
that we don't speak about. And I think it's there in the workplace. It's there. I don't think it's there in the workplace.
Yep.
Um, it's so important that we start breaking that down. We have to start breaking that down,
Yep.
and and um, and figuring out how to I don't want to say work together because, yeah, work together, but we have to build our relationship with each other. We just do. And so I
Yep.
think that's the work that we have to do. We have to figure out what is the cause of the tension? Where is it coming from? Why? Um, and then we have to be willing to mend that in a very genuine way,
Yep.
in a very honest way. And, there is a lot of work to be done with systemic racism. We cannot do it without each other. I hate to say it because it sounds so cliche,
But it's
but
true.
it's just true.
Yep.
It's just true. And so I think that they had this challenge on Instagram, and it was called "Share the Mic Now."
Yes.
And the premise of the challenge, and I think a lot of people know it, but the premise of the challenge is for was for white influencers
Yep.
who had this massive platform to share their platform for a day with a black woman, a black female who is also an influencer. And it just was such a sisterhood moment for
Yep.
us. And I even had two of the women on my show last week, and it was just such a sisterhood moment. And I think that once we can get past the "I'm not a racist, I have black friends," once we can get past that,
Right. Right.
once we can break that part down and say, okay, I didn't choose to be raised in a racial environment.
Right.
But that's how I was raised. All of us were raised in the same place. So
Yep.
now how can we start breaking that down and just, cutting it up so that we can rebuild without the white guilt,
I love
without
that.
the whatever it may be on the end of on our end as black women. Let's just like break it down. So I think if we can start having these conversations, just what you and I are doing within the challenges that they're doing
Yep.
on Instagram, if we can continue with that, I think that it would be so much fun.
Yeah.
I think that it would be so much fun and liberating for us. I really think it would be.
I agree. I wholeheartedly agree. Um,
Yeah.
so we're gonna end on that because that's a amazing way to end.
Hmm.
Tamisha Harris, I love you
Yay.
in real life. Thank you for being here, and thank you for shining your light
Yes.
on this discussion, and for sharing your experience and your expertise and your knowledge, because we might not be the scholars, but we are experts in our own lives. So you stay
Absolutely.
right there. Everybody else, tomorrow, my friend Okima is back. We had a really great conversation last week. We were not finished after our hour. So she's coming back to talk more. So stay tuned for another episode tomorrow on the Black Lives Matter listening tour. And we will see you guys tomorrow. Ms. Tamisha, you stay right there so I can say goodbye to you in the end. We're going
Okay.
to stop recording.